What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ben, and welcome to another edition of the Backstage Slam Wrestling Podcast. And I'm joined with my tag team partner, Joshua, and this is episode number 180. And we're on the eve of NXT Takeover Portland, which is going to be on a Sunday, not Saturday, Josh. Ain't that weird?
Yeah, a little bit. It's almost like NXT is becoming its own brand or something.
Yeah, and it's fortunate that this happened. I think the main reason why the main reason why NXT TakeOver has its own standalone show is because, from all intents and purposes, there is no TakeOver before WrestleMania this year, all due to the fact that we learned at the end of December that NXT was actually going to be in or taking part of WrestleMania. So I guess that makes sense. Low key, I wasn't looking forward to this event until like 2 weeks ago when half the card was announced, or most of the card was announced. But what's kind of shocking is that they are actually going to go with a 6 card. I think this is the second time that they've gone with the 6-match card, right?
I can't think of when the first time was, but yeah, it sounds familiar.
It was like one of the first 10 takeovers. They had 6 matches, and I believe it was the takeover that came before this one. They had only 4 matches, right?
Yeah,
or was that 2 takeovers ago?
It might have been 2 takeovers ago. That's the thing about the takeover matches. For the most part, you're going to get 5 matches, and they're going to be 5 solid matches because they don't just throw a match on the card for the sake of having a slot to fill, for the most part. Every spot is earned, pretty much, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's a great callback to, back in the day when you had your events to hype the match instead of trying to figure out what match to hype the event. Which is what we see a lot of now. How are we going to fill time? I don't know. Throw Rusev in there with somebody.
Right. But I'm still kind of shocked, though. Like, I think starting at WrestleMania, or was it the Royal Rumble, that there was no takeover lead-in? I think it's this one, right?
Yeah, there was no lead-in at the... what is it? The NXT/NXT UK...
I don't think that counts, though. I don't count that. Do you count that?
I don't know whether or not it should count it because it is an event and it was held the day before the Rumble.
Okay,
but
I guess we can count that.
It wasn't hyped like an event or a takeover, essentially.
Right. But anyway, I think WWE intends to do more takeovers starting at this year, and the takeovers will no longer be known for lead-in events for the big 5 pay-per-views, starting with this one. So that's going to be very interesting, a different turnaround that they've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years or so. So it's something that's going to be very interesting to see how this turns out. Should we break down the card and then pull up topics in wrestling? Because I know that this is going to go by real quick. Or would you rather talk about other things in pro wrestling, like other news and topics that you've seen or heard of before, and then do the predictions as the last thing for the podcast?
Well, I think it's only right that we do it the proper way and
That's what
bury
she said.
the lead and put the stuff people want to see at the end.
Okay.
So people are tuning in for the predictions. We'll get to that in a minute. But until then, let's talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling.
All right. So, what have you not watched this week? I have not watched SmackDown.
I have also not watched SmackDown yet.
Okay. So, Monday Night Raw, I watched the last hour, and then everything else I caught on the YouTube. From, I don't know, like, Twitter is weird. Okay, because I looked at the final hour of Raw, and it's the same old stuff. But then Twitter seems to think that Raw is getting better. So it's either I'm missing something in not watching the first 2 hours, or I'm just being sour grapes. But a lot of people, especially people that are more cynical than or more critical than I am on Twitter about the WWE product, they're saying like the last 2 weeks have been an improvement over everything else that they've been doing over the past couple of weeks. Can you attest to this? So what's your feelings on Raw?
I can't say I remember anything specifically that happened on Raw. It's and to say that it's an improvement isn't like a really high value compliment. That's kind of like saying, "Oh, I got cheese on my hamburger, so that makes it better." It's like essentially it's still the same, but sure, maybe it's an improvement. I don't know. I certainly don't recall seeing anything on the show that made me go, okay, now we're on to something. But then again, I also don't recall seeing anything that made me go, oh God. So maybe just the ability to watch it and then not feel anything is an improvement over watching it and just feeling really depressed.
I mean, because that's all Raw and SmackDown has done for me lately. It's just made me feel very morose. And I don't like it. And then on Wednesday nights, doesn't matter what brand you're with, Wednesday night is just awesome. Awesome sauce, man.
Well,
I just don't get it.
Because, not to break off into too much of a tangent, AEW really got under the skin of some people this week.
Oh, boo-hoo. It's 2020. Anyway, all right, let's talk about that down? Well, let's talk about AEW. So you think that was the biggest thing? To me, it was the debut, not other than the title change. In fact, I've been saying the title change needs to happen, and it doesn't matter who it is. It's just that we need a women's champion in AEW that's going to be on TV every single week. And they finally took the belt off the champion.
Really think it matters?
I don't think it matters. They had to get the belt off of Riho. That was my biggest concern. My biggest concern with the women's division in AEW. They did it. They finally took it off her. And
they put it on something that actually makes a lot of sense to do.
Right. So I'm going to let you take this one. I'm going to let you lead us off this one, because since you brought it up, you must have a lot of thoughts on it. Because for me, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. And for a lot of people on Twitter that I read, yeah, it's a big deal to them. But at the same time, I'm going to call these people out the next time I see them do something like this, because they claim to support, whatever it is that they're complaining about against Nyla Rose, which is so stupid. And I already have called some people out on Twitter. I actually copied and pasted some of the stuff on their profile page, and then I I slammed it. I posted it right back at them and said, "So how can you guys say that you don't accept a transgendered woman as a world champion, but you claim to be pro LGBT?" And it says right there in your profile, underneath your avatar, underneath your name, right there, you got rainbows, hearts, unicorn heads, emojis, but you're mad at Nyla Rose. They're
Maybe
not
they're
mad that Riho lost. They're mad that a transgendered woman is the women's champion. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And you know what? I am confident in saying that all of those people that have been very boisterous about it on Twitter, at least a minimum of 50% are hypocritical. That they have exact profiles like this one person was that was engaged with in a 12-hour argument, not really argument, but of me throwing their words right back at them, going in an endless circle just to make them see how stupid they are being on social media. And then I ended up being the one that quit because I found out that, oh man, I'm only 16 years old, man. I was like, well, you're gonna use that excuse, fine. You're 16 years old. You're a kid. Just shut up.
You're supposed to be more woke
That's
than
it.
everybody.
That's it. And I'm going to take the high road. You just admitted you're a little kid. Fine, whatever. You get to have that excuse, but you're still stupid. Let's move along. But what's your take? Like, I mean, you must have some feelings on this.
Oh yeah, I'm. By the way, if you are new to the show or new to the Semi-Core network of shows, welcome. It's good to have you around. But anybody that's been listening to this show or listening to Josh's World especially, you know that I am not only an advocate, but also a very, very adamant supporter of all of it. The LGBTQ thing, the community, that would be a good word.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very big supporter of the community, and it goes back, way back, for my family and many friends, and I have friends that fall under each one of those letters. So, to see people upset about this is, one, distressing, because like you said, it's 2020. We should be beyond this, but not to turn this into a political thing, there is a certain side of the aisle that frowns upon this stuff. And let's face it, they're in power. So people do feel more emboldened to spout off this kind of nonsense. And the thing that really bugs me are the ones that, you know, like you said, are hypocritical when they say how much they're against this one thing, but are claiming to be in full support of everything for the community. It makes no sense. You can't call yourself an ally and then say this is terrible. But by far the worst argument that I have seen made for this is, it's not fair to the real female athletes.
Right.
Dude, really? I mean, how do we even begin to dissect this? Yes, there would be a definite disadvantage for those that were born female, having to go up against somebody in a fight that was born a male. You know, if this were a real fight, you idiots.
It's one thing if it's MMA, but it's another thing if it's pro wrestling, because even though both are hard hitting, one is a predetermined outcome and the other isn't.
Yeah, it's like, well, naturally the booker's gonna go for the person that. No. It doesn't matter. Anybody can be booked to beat anybody.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen that over the decades? How many times has that been a huge selling point of a pay-per-view match? You know,
right.
defying all of the odds. That's Daniel Bryan's career, for Christ's sake.
Right.
So, to say it's unbelievable or it's unfair is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm talking to you, the big Valboski. Yeah, that's right. Val Venus came out and he was like, "This is wrong." Yeah, that guy, Mr. Chubby Pee Pee. It's going to talk about morals and things like that today.
Yeah. I mean, the last 2 years, we've never seen a larger wave of transgendered wrestling. We never seen a larger wave of gender bending wrestling. You know, with acts such as Sunny Kiss, off the top of my head, and intergender wrestling, men and women wrestling against each other. That's like literally 3 of the most popular things going on right now in the indie scene outside of the big companies right now. You see it everywhere, on Twitter, on YouTube. You know, Chris Statlander. I don't know anybody that's wrestled more men than Chris Statlander and Tessa Blanchard in the last 6 months. It's like, it's crazy. And you get all these sycophants on Twitter that's like, "Oh, but she's a chick with a dick and she beat up on an 80-year-old girl." But then at the same time, you scroll back into the history and they're like, "Yeah, I cheered for China when she defeated Eddie Guerrero or whoever the hell it was when she won the Intercontinental Championship." And they're like, "Yeah." It's like, really? Come on now. You got to be better than that. It's just ridiculous. You're just making yourself look stupid. Okay?
I get into a discussion, and this is kind of, it's related to the topic. I watch the Oscars. You know I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when Taika Waititi won all of those awards, and IGN, you know, ran a story that was like, this is the first time someone of his background, you know, won an Oscar. I don't remember exactly, you know, what nationality they were talking about, but the comments were filled with things like, why is this important? Why do you have to bring this up? And like what's going on in AEW, people have to realize inclusion is important because the world has been...
Something like this happened to Jamila Jamil recently.
I don't know. Explain.
You know who she is, right? She's the actress in The Good Place.
Oh, yeah. And she's like super hot.
Yeah. Where she had to, like, I don't know, like she was on like a American Idol type of show, and like something, I don't know the situation, but she ended up forcing herself to come out as queer on social media, just so that she didn't come off as playing favorites or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah,
really stupid.
Didn't even hear about that story.
Yeah, this was like last week or 2 weeks ago.
But yeah, inclusion is important. People need icons out there that represent them in the public eye. And is it unfair that certain people represent a whole group of people, yeah, you damn right it's unfair. But it's the world we live in. And if we don't have this representation to change hearts and minds of the mainstream populace, then things don't change.
Right.
When Ellen came out, 20 years ago, she lost her job. She lost her show. It was named after her. And she was fired because, everything changed when she came out. That doesn't happen anymore because it's just kind of a thing now that happens. Yeah, you still have actors and actresses and everybody that proudly proclaim whatever their sexuality is, but a lot of people say, what's the big deal? And then, of course, the big deal is people knowing that there is someone out there that can make it and that can be publicly loved by the masses. And maybe that person at home that's the same way is thinking, maybe I can live my life. Maybe I don't have to hide who I am. And that's why it's important that things like this happen. That's why it's important that the title switch happened, in AEW. And hopefully
I think the older generation needs to be educated more so than the younger crowd, in my opinion.
Very much
There's a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds on Twitter acting stupid, much like teenagers. Education. But, not to get away from that, but, my problem had nothing to do with the deposition of Nyla Rose. It had everything to do with the women's championship and the division itself. For me, I like this move. For how long? I probably won't be too long. I know she's going to hold the title at least until Double or Nothing, which is the next big pay-per-view. So let's see. Who we're gonna have take the title off her? Statlander, Baker, and Sheeta. I think those are the top three that are legitimate contenders to take the belt off of Nyla Rose. I'm okay with it. The best thing that could happen in the AEW women's division was Brandy Rhodes dissolving the Nightmare Collective and running that whole storyline. So they are no longer a thing. I think the dude and Mel are still a gimmick. I don't know. I haven't seen anything on that. What's become of those two? I know that Awesome Kong had to go back to shooting the final season of Glow, and Brandy is now incorporating herself in the corner of her husband, who's in the number one feud in pro wrestling against MJF and Cody Rhodes coming up. So that was my issue. Was like I like Riho. I'm a fan of Riho. I'm a mark for her. But she hasn't like, her schedule is so busy because she's not exclusive to AEW. Like, she's literally one of three people that are carrying Stardom, the Stardom brand. So she's been spending a lot of her time in Japan, and she hasn't had a whole lot of TV time. And her two most recent matches before this match against Statlander and then Nyla Rose, it was all on AEW Dark. So I'm glad that this title change happened. Hopefully this can right that ship, or this is like a reboot to the women's division, wipe the board clean, just like they did with the records last month, right that ship. Any closing things about the women's division in general?
I'd like it to get what's the word?
I feel like
Better?
there's too much heels in the women's division.
Yeah,
Way too much heels in the women's division.
it just feels kind of bare bones right now, you know.
Yeah.
But that's
I
it.
mean, most of the heels on that division they're jobbing, but I still say like the women have way more heels than the baby faces in there. Uh for me the biggest pop of the week, Josh. The Inner Circle, Chris Jericho's group, they have a
Heard
new
of them?
member.
Is it me?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Finally.
No, but one of my favorite pro wrestlers that's been touring ROH and New Japan Pro Wrestling as of late, competed in the G1.
Cheeseburger?
No.
Yes.
Jeff freaking Cobb.
Yes, Jeff Cobb. The hired muscle.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward because every time they bring in a big AEW brings in a big name, they end up losing first match. And it's all because of timing and circumstances that they're being, like the Butcher and the Blade and anybody else that's getting into the MJF and Cody Rhodes feud, and they're being fed to him, or everybody that's in the Jericho and the Kenny Omega feud, they get thrown into Kenny Omega, and then it's like, wait, why does Omega have to beat him? No, he shouldn't be taking losses. And then they're doing it now with John Moxley and Chris Jericho. Everybody they're throwing at John Moxley to feed him wins to make him strong going up against Jericho. I hate to see it, but I don't think Jeff Cobb is gonna make it out of his match with a victory over John Moxley unless they make it very convincing that they keep John Moxley looking strong heading into Double or Nothing, or excuse me, Revolution. It's kind of crazy. And another example of this, Josh, I wouldn't say negative, like this is all a negative, but I say it's one of those things that's like, they could have done it a little bit better, but due to circumstances and timing, is probably the biggest match coming this Wednesday night, which is the steel cage match between the debuting Wardlow versus Cody. What do you think about some of the juxtaposition of talent being put into a situation where they shouldn't be losing, but because they're part of a storyline, that there's just no getting around that talent losing?
Well, how about we stop for a second and think about how awesome it is that AEW is bringing in guys to be put into positions like this. You don't see the WWE, outside of NXT, bringing in guys not under contract to just kind of,
It's like you poured a bowl of cereal, like the generic brand of cereal Toast Crunch, and then somebody goes, "Hey, here's the actual Cinnamon Toast Crunch," and you're like, "Oh." And then you sprinkle some of that on top of the generic cereal Toast Crunch with the real cereal Toast Crunch.
I'm getting the idea that you want some cereal?
It's just so good. It's just so good. I just actually ate before the podcast.
Yeah, I had a nice ribeye steak.
Damn.
Bowl of chili. Anyway, getting losing the plot here. Okay. Just the fact that Jeff Cobb can be in AEW, let's, talk about that being pretty awesome. Now, the fact that he has to come in and basically, I don't want to say he's going to come in and just do the job and go, but it's so frustrating because Jeff Cobb's awesome. and he would be a great feather to put, in anybody's cap, as far as building someone up. But I'd want to see him not be the obstacle so much as the final boss, really. It's just a little frustrating that this guy is going to be used in that way. But like I said before, I'm at least going to be happy. We'll say happy that I get to see him on AEW at all, because he deserves a big stage. He deserves a bigger stage than Ring of Honor has been given him. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. His work in Japan was fine.
Oh my goodness, his series with both Ishii and Hiroki Goto, so amazing.
Yeah, you remember when we were talking about the G1, I'm like, these are my most anticipated matches.
Yeah.
And you saw why. But, everything else did fall a little flat because, I don't know, his heart didn't seem to be into it, in my opinion. Just
he was hurt.
Out there. I did not know that.
Yeah, he was hurt. He had hyperextended his elbow. And then he had lower back spasms from just not being able to take it. I think he worked like a 15-week stretch where he at least had 4 matches a week. And that was all before the G1. So like when you seen him at the end of the G1, he had his arm wrapped up. He had both knees wrapped up. He looked bad. And then he rested for like 2-3 weeks. And then bam, he was back on ROH TV again, wrecking everybody. So not only is he and Wardlow getting their first match in AEW, but at our next pay-per-view after tomorrow night, which is AEW Revolution, we have the debuting, or should I say not debuting, but his first match officially in AEW, the formerly known superstar known as Jack Swagger. Yes, you know who that is. The man who refuses to talk, Jake Hager, will be taking on Dustin Rhodes in his first match. So, 3 big debuts in AEW. I'm really looking forward to that in the next couple of weeks.
AEW looks like they're really starting to light some fires.
What about that rumor about Matt Hardy being the leader of the Exalted One, the leader of the Dark Order? How about them apples?
You mean Matt Hardy, the guy that is currently under contract at WWE?
At the end of his contract, unless he signed a new one.
That is quite the situation, isn't it?
I think that his contract is up at the end of this month, I believe.
Let's see. I think it's after Mania. Right around there.
Yeah.
Came back at Mania, what, 2?
Oh, it's February. I thought it was March. So, okay. Yeah. WrestleMania is in April still, right? This year?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got it mixed up. Next year, Josh, WrestleMania is in March.
Is it?
Yes. It's in the 3rd, if not the last week of March next year in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's going to be in...
I got confused. I was like, wait, I thought it was April. And then for some reason, I just seen the commercial for next year's WrestleMania being in LA. And it said March 20-something. I was like, whoa. It's been a while since we had WrestleMania in March. But yeah.
You know what that
So
means,
he has a few... Yeah. So he has a few weeks left.
So does he leave WWE for more, I guess, what, creative freedom?
I guess.
Maybe he gets put into a managerial
People are saying
position
he's too
behind the
old, but look at
scenes.
Jericho. I'm like, there's guys arguing, like, oh, stupid, it's not gonna work. He's too old. I'm like, Jericho's 49, and he's in the top of the world right now. You know what I mean? Matt Hardy's what, 43, 44? He's got a couple of years.
Yeah, but he walks funny, dude.
Who doesn't? Oh, did you see that article this morning on Kurt Angle?
I heard where I saw a headline that said, "My quality of life sucks."
Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan was talking about it to somebody in his podcast within the last 2 weeks, saying how if you have too much spine injuries, it doesn't matter where on your spine, like your neck, for instance. He was using Kurt Angle as a reference, like because of his broken neck and all that stuff. Like his neck is fused to the point where the muscles from his neck to his shoulders to his arms to his lower back and his legs, they're all atrophied. They look like they're just dangling off of his body. And in ways, when you watch him wrestle that tag team match at WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey and in that last match he had with Baron Corbin, I was like, oh, so that's what he meant by muscle atrophy. I can definitely see it. Like, it just doesn't look natural. It really doesn't. He really didn't look natural. And I guess Matt Hardy has that unnatural look to him, but he tends to limp way more. Or should I say he leans to the right? I don't know. It's weird.
I would say it's something with his hip.
It's weird. Anything else on wrestling?
No,
nothing from New Japan until next month. We're all good.
I think we basically covered everything that needs to be covered.
Okay.
And yeah, that's pretty well. Yeah, well, we could talk about just real quick the report saying Matt Hardy was written off of TV, and then, oh wait, no, he wasn't.
I never seen that one.
Okay, last week there was a report going around that, somebody was like, insiders say that Matt Hardy took that beating from Randy Orton to be written off of TV because he hasn't signed a new contract.
Was that insider Brad Shepard?
I don't remember.
Well,
but
all right.
The follow-up to that article was they changed their minds because Matt Hardy will be facing Randy Orton on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really, guys? You wrote something because you had quote-unquote inside sources.
They're being reactionary again. They've seen all the AEW Dark Order rumors that how he's going to use broken character, the real, true broken character, to be the exalted one. Oh,
personally,
Vince was like, no, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to put him on TV and milk him dry and pay him $500 in his last match like we did to that Jon Moxley guy. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's some good shit.
Okay, here's what we got. According to Ryan Satin, Matt passed on WWE's latest contract offer last week, which is why they did the Concerto angle to write him off TV. Since it was so well received, though, they decided to extend this part of story another week. So there you have it.
Oh boy.
It's got to be true. I read it on the internet.
All right. I just got confirmation in chat that you are indeed going to wrestle. All right. While I'm getting over my jealousy.
Wait, there's a chat?
Yeah, I'm streaming on Twitch.
Oh.
I'm talking to Amber.
I had no idea.
PTRP forever? Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Because due to the pots and pans being slammed around in the kitchen, I can hear it through my headphones. That means I'm going to have to be cutting up some vegetables pretty soon for dinner. Let's see. Tomorrow is NXT Takeover Portland. Let's go over the card. 6 matches. We got the first match. I'm going to go off the list on Discord because I just copied and pasted, so I don't care the order. You cool with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I already copied and pasted all 6 of my picks, and I'm just going to hit enter as soon as we're done making the picks on the air. Okay.
Mine are also copied and pasted, and I will be doing the same.
Okay. First match. Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair NXT Championship. Not Women's Championship. NXT Championship, because it's obvious they're women. That's the way that they want to, portray things. I get it. So I'm going to go with it. Who you got, Josh?
I have Ripley.
Okay.
Obvious reason. She's going to continue the feud with Charlotte.
I'm going to let you try to steal something from me because every time I go first, you're like, I totally agree. I totally see that happening too. Damn it. Go ahead. Okay. How do you see the match breaking down?
Simply put, I think Ripley's going to demolish Bianca Belair. Not because I don't believe in Bianca Belair, but because Rhea Ripley's going to want to make a statement. And for everybody watching, Charlotte's going to need that bigger mountain, right? She needs the bigger challenge. And if Bianca Belair, and don't get me wrong, maybe she'll put up a little fight, but if Rhea Ripley doesn't just, rip her apart by the end of the match, what kind of chance is she going to have against Charlotte? So Rhea Ripley with the win. And a part of me says, yeah, I know there could be some interference and, maybe Belair picks up a DQ win, but I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah. I think Rhea picks up the DQ win. I think Charlotte comes in and attacks both of them, lays them both out, but he ends up hitting Rhea first, just so that she stays strong going in there. And Vince is very high on Bianca as well. For some reason, he's high on Montez Ford, her husband, but he hasn't done jack diddly squat with them, the Street Profits. So I hope he doesn't ruin Bianca too, because I think she's going to get called up in the next couple of weeks. So I see Rhea Ripley retaining via DQ. Charlotte mops the floor with the both of them. Coming up next, Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano.
Finn Balor, I have for the win because he's freaking Finn Balor. He's the guy that everybody knows. He's the guy that everybody loves. And that's basically it. I would have made it a coin toss, but then I said, wait, Finn Balor is coming down from the main roster, so yeah, he's got the clout. I think he's going to.
I think he's here. I think he's there to stay, Josh. I think he's staying in NXT.
Still, he's the guy that's had the bigger career thus far in WWE.
Right.
So I'd say he picks up the win. Although, would it be nice?
Clean, dirty. He's basically Prince Devitt Bullet Club.
Yeah, but unless
I say he wins,
unless
he
something
kicks
debuts
Johnny in the balls.
Unless something debuts at TakeOver, I would go more.
What are you saying, Josh? You think Killer Cross is going to get into this match and attack both of them? Because
I'm
that'll be
not
awesome.
saying anything.
You guys heard it here, folks. Killer Cross debut takeover tomorrow night. Joshua Chitty at Skip Comic on Twitter.
But I don't see Gargano winning. I'll just end it there.
No, but for on Killer Cross, you think he interferes in any of these matches tomorrow, or he's gonna get that front row spotlight like they always do with somebody coming in?
I'd say he's getting the front row spotlight.
Okay. I got Finn Balor winning, kicking the nuts in the spike DDT for a victory. These next two matches are probably going to be my matches of the night. It's a tie. It's a toss up. We'll start with the tag team championship, Undisputed Era taking on the Broserweights. I got Undisputed Era retaining only because they need the Undisputed Era to stay strong, because the tag division, there's no real true tag teams besides them. Every tag team that they currently have on the NXT roster is a mishmash of two singles guys being put together. Hence why they had the Dusty Classic. All of the good tag teams got called up to the main roster, and they had to put two decent singles talents together so that they could replenish this tag team division. And I don't think the tag team division runs without the strongest tag team, whether you're a fan of theirs or not. So I'm going to go with Undisputed Era retaining the tag team championships. But this is going to be a 5-star match.
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. That's for certain. It's going to be a great match. Here's what is not going to happen. The Broserweights will not walk out as champions. The Broserweights will not walk out with a win. The Undisputed Era will reassert their dominance, and Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne can go back to doing something, I don't know, useful. Don't get me wrong, they're going to have a great match. I think that goes without saying. They're going to have a great match. But Matt Riddle is going to be busy doing everything he can to get a match with Brock Lesnar. And Pete Dunne is more suited for basically anything else at this point in time. He should be going after somebody, and we should be getting like 5-star matches on the regular from this dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going with Undisputed Era.
Okay. NXT title, Adam Cole defending against Tommaso Ciampa. I got Ciampa. I think I think Adam Cole is destined to be in the main roster in a couple of months. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but I see it happening, Josh. They're gonna break up the Undisputed Era pretty soon.
You think they're going to break up the Undisputed Era?
Yep.
Just
like they're gonna leave. They're gonna leave. They're gonna leave 2 or 3 of them behind, and 1 or 2 are gonna go up to the main roster. It sucks, but it sucks. But the way that they have NXT structured as a live show, 2 hours with way more talent per capita than Raw and SmackDown, it's just impossible, because you're gonna have guys. You're gonna have a Johnny Gargano situation where it looks like they had to make like he was gonna get kicked out to the main roster after losing 3 world title matches, but then he ended up sticking around with nothing to do for 11 weeks, and then all of a sudden he shows back up. It's because they have so much people, so much storyline, so much stuff going on, that once these guys finish their rubber matches or their programs are done, we're not gonna see them for weeks, like we saw with Gargano. So the only way they can do that and the main roster, they need ratings. So like some of these guys and gals in NXT, they gotta go, and we gotta get over this stigma of, oh, Vince is gonna ruin them, because guess what? WWE as a whole, they're not doing too well. And now it's starting to hit them in the pockets. So,
But
they got to do what they got to do.
Like highest gross earnings ever.
Yeah, but this next quarter is going to be a huge, huge loss. I guarantee it. I spelled Tommaso's name wrong. Okay, so yeah, I got Ciampa. Who do you got?
You make a compelling argument, I'll give you that much. And the build-up for this match makes me think Ciampa's going to get his girl back. But yeah. I'm gonna stick with my gun. I gotta say Adam Cole, baby.
I mean, they keep throwing Tommaso Ciampa and Finn Balor stare downs in our face so many times. It's like, this is going to be the next one. And if that's going to happen, Adam Cole is going to have to drop his belt. So that's why I picked Ciampa.
Happens when Cole drops.
Is this the first match you and I split on?
Might be, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I just think when Cole drops it, it's going to be at a bigger event. It's going to be Mania weekend. It's going to be a really, really big deal.
Well, Josh, I hate to break it to you, but with this standalone NXT event, and it's supposed to be happening more frequently, next month they have one opportunity where they're going to be going live in a big arena that they would normally use for Raw and SmackDown in March. So it's going to be real telling how they do with AEW. So it's going to be real interesting how NXT does in a big arena for once, live on a Wednesday night on USA. All right. Final two matches coming up on 54 minutes. So Josh and I, we really pretty much orchestrated a forceful 1 hour podcast because we don't like doing a 10-minute predictions podcast.
And we also don't
just
like
feel
doing
lazy.
chores.
Yeah, we just feel lazy if we do a podcast less than 25 minutes. So,
Less
all right,
than 45 minutes.
Okay, Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox. I do believe the winner of this match will be the new number 1 contenders match for the Women's Championship, but unfortunately it's going to be put on the back burner until WrestleMania is done and over with, because I do believe it'll be a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship between Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte. So I'm going to go with Dakota Kai only because Rhea Ripley is a huge base right now. And Tegan Nox is a big baby face, but I think Dakota Kai, she's on a hot streak right now with her new attitude, her new look. This is the big break I think she needed, and she's been there for a very, very long time. She deserves it. So I'm going to go with Dakota Kai.
I'm gonna go with Nox.
Okay.
Don't ask me to explain it. I want Dakota Kai to win because on my list
she's cute.
Well, yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Final match. North American Championship. Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic. And this is 3-3, right? The series between them?
I think so.
3 for Keith, 3 for Dominic. So this is like the ultimate, or their second quote unquote rubber match. I'm gonna go with Keith Lee on this, but I do think that these two guys, even though they've been tagging up, excuse me, even though that they've been tagging up recently, and they've kind of turned into rivals turned friends. Now back to rivals, but are still on friendly terms. I do see some outside interference in this match. But wouldn't it be awesome if somebody interfered, like another big man, like Killer Cross, comes in? I don't know, maybe hits Dominic Dijakovic, and we get Dijakovic versus Cross. Oh. Anyway, I'm digressing. Keith Lee.
I'm also going Keith Lee because, I mean, honestly, if can you find anybody else on either NXT or the main roster that is kind of on a pretty hot streak right now? Let's just say on a hot streak like Keith Lee, where he is looked at favorably, not just by Triple H, but apparently Vince McMahon's like,
oh, we're just talking in WWE or in the entire industry?
No, just WWE.
Oh, I can't think of anybody.
Even like I said, even Vince McMahon is drooling at the mouth because.
Oh, wait a minute! No, Drew.
Is he?
Because they finally decided to pull the trigger they should have did last year and making him win the Royal Rumble.
But is he really on a hot streak?
Yeah, ever since they turned him babyface 2 months ago, he's been undefeated.
I'd say Keith Lee is more.
Keith Lee got the big wow spot.
Yeah, you can't even. Stop crushing my. I don't know.
Hey, you're going to WrestleMania, okay? You stop.
Yeah, I'm going to WrestleMania.
And you got an NFL team, so stop.
Yeah, I got an NFL team, and next month.
Yeah, you better pray the cons keep them there. You know, I seen some things that they're seriously thinking about moving the Jaguars to London.
I could care less. Move them tomorrow.
Hey, they're playing one home and one away game this coming season. That's scary.
Maybe to someone that cares.
All right.
I was going to say, next month I'm going to Tampa to see an XFL game, so suck on that.
Oh, dude, they're terrible. Oh, they're terrible. Look, all the XFL content creators, we all had Tampa as like either the worst or the second worst team, and for some reason, Las Vegas, the betting dudes, they all had them as one of the favorites to win the XFL title. Oh my goodness! Did you see today's game?
I did.
Oh man, the only team that might be worse than them is LA, and they play tomorrow morning. And on that note,
I'm going to see them face off against Seattle.
Yeah, I think it'll happen. But with that note, I am being called to the kitchen to make dinner. My name is Ben. That's Josh. You guys can follow us on Twitter at SkitComic and at YoBroMMO. You guys can follow the channel on Twitch at, is it SkitComic or Semicore Josh on Twitch?
It's all SkitComic.
Okay, twitch.tv/SkitComic. And you can follow this channel that you guys are watching the live stream on twitch.tv/YoBroMMO. If you'd like to support us financially via subscriptions, you can go ahead and slap an Amazon Prime or a Twitch Prime subscription on both of our Twitch channels. Or you can go ahead and subscribe to Patreon. I do have a cheaper tier there. You guys can subscribe to our content for $1, $5, $10, and $20 a month. You guys can change, cancel at any moment in time as you do please. Go ahead and check out the Patreon at patreon.com/YoBroMMO. That's patreon.com/YoBroMMO. And we will see you guys next Friday or Saturday for episode number 181 of the Backstage Slam podcast, where we will be reviewing NXT Takeover Portland and the big AEW card coming up this Wednesday. We got the tag team championships on the line, and we also got Cody versus Wardlow in the steel cage match. Jon Moxley versus oh my god, I can't breathe. Somebody is like smoking cigars, and I hate cigars. Jon Moxley versus Jeff Cobb, and I think we got one more championship match. I don't remember what it is. I think we have a women's championship match too. I forget. But anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Take it easy.
Too sweet.